But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
All right, everyone, welcome to the 82nd episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Hosts for today are Lisa Mighty Davis, Team Mighty organizer and owner of the new Mighty Lair. And you don't have any special merch on, do you? No. Nope. Okay. Hello. All right. Johnny Litecoin from the Litecoin community.
What's up?
He has Litecoin shirt and hat, I think, right? So I think
Yeah.
Yep, very good. Dave started this last week, so I think we just keep.
I threw some edits in just to throw a wrench in your spokes. You can't have the same cadence and memorize it every time.
Yes. Greg from Rivet. Let's see. Is that just it's not a wife beater, but maybe is it
Oh,
printed?
this?
Oh, let's see what it is.
This is my Birds Aren't Real t-shirt.
Oh, beautiful.
Best
Excellent.
conspiracy theory on the market.
I just learned about that one.
Yes. I like that one, by the way. Dave, U.S. Navy veteran and Den.Social enthusiast with a Den logo shirt on.
Bow, bow.
And
DragonChain.store.
Yes. Satoshi Sean, entrepreneur and everyone's friend. And he is wearing a Misfits shirt, it looks like. Is that a real one or is that a... Okay, that is. All right. Very good. Very good. Perfect. And I'm Joe, your master of ceremonies for today. I have a migraine today. And I do have on a Tesla shirt with an owl, right? So
You have a migraine?
Yeah. It's pretty bad. But it's
That's
all right.
that's pretty hardcore for being on a live stream, right? Like bright
It's not as
lights
bad as
and-
a flu. I've done it with a flu before. So let's see here. So first, a quick update on the layer ownership tokens for the roundtable show. Last week's episode netted us a certain amount, but every host will receive 93 lot. Every topic contributor from last week will receive 58 lot. And the original theme last week was IoT, nominated by Juicy J, who will receive 58 lot. Essentially, perpetual passive income, free edits, governance votes, other various things in the layer. But essentially, your governance power to change the show up, right? So if you have a great idea, put it up for a vote, and we'll all say, let's just do that. Totally, vote Joe off the island for a few episodes, something like that, whatever you guys want, and we'll have fun. So let's see here. We also had a DAO vote, which results to allow anyone in the roundtable to ask questions or request discussion about blockchain topics. It does have to be a blockchain topic, but unrelated to the current episode theme. It came up because there were probably a lot of opportunities that people couldn't take because they might have a question not about like this week's privacy coins theme.
Yep. There have definitely been some miscarriages of conversational justice going on. When somebody asks a really great question that's not on topic.
Yes. So it was approved. Look, no votes against. So that's good. No votes against. It was unanimously approved. Anyway, one way or another, that's good. Let's see here. And also the theme suggestion post is currently up. So if you have any themes that you would want to discuss in the January episodes, the vote will start next week. So start putting those themes up and essentially get them in by Monday the 19th in order to make sure that they might be considered in the list of potentials for the month. And then we'll have a vote and Again, only if you have DAO lot for the roundtable. You participated in past where you get a vote. So that's everything. So this week is privacy coins. If we have anything around that, otherwise we open it up to current events, and we'll try to limit it to 30 minutes or so, depending on what we got. And I'll look how many questions in the meantime that were asked, and we'll just go from there. So who has something?
Wow.
Tether,
I got to throw this one out here right away because it's been blowing my mind for the last 24 hours. Because I'm like, are these guys just not reading the room or what? But apparently, MetaMask has decided to partner with all that is evil and unholy with fintech, and they just announced that they're working with PayPal to do some kind of integration.
Wait, who owns MetaMask? Wasn't that
that's Consensus, man? That's Joe Lubin.
Yeah, no, but didn't they secretly sell a bunch of the IP to one of the big banks?
Did they?
It's literally, it was literally in one of the things.
So is that does that go hand in hand with a couple of weeks ago or a week or two ago? MetaMask came out with an announcement about
privacy.
Some issue of breaking your privacy, or
they updated their privacy policy,
KYCing your
your
MetaMask wallet or something.
They updated the privacy policy to include language that is ambiguous enough to enable correlation of IP address and blockchain address.
The IP.
And the real kind of meat of the fight there, because I'm actually not too bad of friends with Taylor, although I'm not sure how much she loves me anymore after some of the conversations we've been having. Taylor Monahan from MyCrypto, they got acquired by MetaMask like last year around this time. And she's been kind of their voice of legitimacy and kind of keeping their conscience on track. And I just wonder how much this update has to do with this partnership, because they did this update. And I'm pretty sure that PayPal is ESG flavored enough to require you to disclose the IP address of every financial transaction that happens between the two. And if you're intermediating between, PayPal and MetaMask, what are you going to want?
She's been on the show, by the way.
Wallet addresses, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, she's fantastic. She's one of my favorite people. I wonder if she is seriously questioning how gold the handcuffs are right now.
Greg, do you know anything about the scope of their partnership or what they're doing? Like
nothing that I wouldn't derive from speculation, but
right.
I mean, when you think about what's going on there, right? PayPal has a very FTX-like system of digital derivatives that it sells you, right? You get a pool of cryptocurrency that they probably hold in, one or two wallets, probably one. They're probably stupid enough at PayPal to keep it in one. And then they're claiming that you own a fraction of this when you buy this derivative under contract with us, right?
So, all right.
So they let you trade it around as if you own it.
One thing with PayPal, that I do know though, as bad as that bit license was, which I hated the thing because it stifled innovation. One of the things was, if you do have that bit license, there is intense auditing that the crypto they're selling for you is 1-for-1. I do know that for a fact. So they do sell Litecoin on there, and they do have to hold it 1-to-1.
So they claim.
I don't know. Again, I don't know what will happen with MetaMask and other stuff. It might be classified differently, but I know for like the big four coins, they have to do that.
I was going to bet that the real damage is under their partnership contract, right? That their ESG requirements imposed on them by their board are likely such that all of their suppliers over at PayPal have to follow a certain set of rules, and all of their partners.
100% that update,
right?
100%. That's what that update had to do with. This is where everything's going. Actually, besides for Litecoin, I have a lot of experience with point of sale systems, credit card systems. That's the bad guys.
That's fascinating,
there, right? That's the what I call the banking industrial complex.
So the POS systems themselves, those guys are power players in all of this. I always figured they were kind of like just owned by the card networks.
No, the POS systems are owned by the large processing companies. Typically, that will say, okay, this is our POS that we're going to market with. They used to be more open.
Okay.
Where you could switch around a lot, but a lot of things consolidated. So they've stifled a ton of innovation because we would have retail crypto payments on chain everywhere. You're like, oh, they can't do it. No, it's fucking super
easy. It's a fucking QR code. Honestly.
Super easy to do at the point of sale. It's just that the banking industrial complex won't approve the apps to go in there, or it'll have to be an app that has full KYC, like bumpers on, like crypto with training wheels. So,
all right,
that's what we're up against. And the thing is, with all this,
but that doesn't make it not a derivative, right? Like it's still a derivative, even though they're promising it.
That's how it always is, though, with everything, man. You know, whatever the power structure that's in place will fight tooth and nail to still control.
Sure.
Right.
You know, that
PayPal
industry,
just
man.
became a shadow bank because people can offboard and onboard assets through MetaMask now. I mean, is essentially what I read this story to be.
But 99% of the time, you know, it ends up failing. If there's a better mousetrap, people eventually go to the better mousetrap.
Problem is, people are becoming so complacent, and I see that being in the payment space where people don't want to think about money, which is a shame. They just want, you know, it's hard for people if their I always say someone's first experience in crypto can't be a centralized exchange. They leave that experience thinking, oh, this is like Apple stock or Facebook stock or this or
and
that.
And they need to start thinking of it like they're parked at Mos Eisley Cantina and, you know, trying to hire a freighter pilot at that point, you know.
Well, I've noticed something, just myself taking a step back, we're moving that way. There's a big push to get away from DeFi and to move towards CeFi. It was like a curse word a year ago.
Though.
You know, it was a curse word a year ago, and I've gotten asked by several companies to start talking about CeFi. DeFi's dead. We're going to go with CeFi is the way to go. And when I hear what's happening now, with old Sam was arrested, and there's this big shift to, you know, crypto bad. We've been talking about it, you know. But it's so blatant to me this last week, you know, the old adage, you know, don't let any good crisis go unused. To see, I think it was Kevin O'Leary or somebody sitting in front of Congress the other day and saying, have you heard about this Binance? Have you know about this Binance? Binance.
Look over there.
And then it's like,
you know, everybody getting their fault by a project right now. If they follow the Super Bowl rule, they'd be fine. Like if a company can afford to advertise on the Super Bowl last year, and I think Binance is gonna. Like you're in the FTX scandal.
I think Binance is not going to fall, but I think in the United States, it's gonna. I think we're going to have close up shop. I think that's going to be another huge blow to crypto. I think BNB is going to almost crash because I live in Texas, and Binance has tried to play ball a million times. They made Binance US, for God's sake. They made a whole thing just for you, and I can't use it because Texas is super strict. We're talking about that Netflix thing. The whole reason it got shut down is because of Texas. The whole reason, I don't know if y'all remember this, the whole reason that BitConnect died was because of Texas. As soon as anyone in the Texas government finds out about it, they like, what? Literally everyone's doing this like argument about the Netflix thing. Hey, this is like child porn and we can't do this, blah, 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 blah. And then the Texas Attorney General said, oh, anyone connected with Netflix in Texas is going to be arrested. And they took it right off. It's okay. We're taking it off now. In the United States, it's not there anymore.
You know, you said something, Sean, that just now that sort of triggered me, I think, a little bit, because it does seem like the way things are dealt with is that people just talk about it until they're sick of talking about it and then move on to the next thing. And that's how we resolve things is we just we memory hole it and move on.
Like that's how we came through all of the summer.
Not for regular people though.
2020 with no they still kept the rule where qualified immunity applies to police officers who beat the crap out of people when they arrest them.
My son Ted,
right? We just talked about that stuff. We didn't really do anything. He was
on the show, you know, from the Social Nerds.
Yeah.
He sent me a text while me and Lisa were doing our show. And it blew my mind. Indiana passed a law this last week, I think, which was to me is like, hey, people can drink water.
This is interesting.
This doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I didn't know this was the thing.
Tell them what the law is. This is very interesting.
The law states that if you can shoot a police officer who tries to come into your home illegally, and I was like, that's not a law? Why do they need to make a law? And I was like, that's just, you can do that. They're citizens. They're not, they're not a royalty, and there's not a class system. I thought it was that way everywhere. And he's like, oh no, not in most states.
Sean, you mentioning that is really timely. Today is the day, those day of. Today's the day of passage of the anniversary of the Bill of Rights, and that was put through because a group of people believed that the Constitution gave the government too much power, which I thought was really interesting, because we talk about that in the transverse, the reverse, all the time. So they came up with the Bill of Rights, because they believed that the Constitution gave the government too much power. And so we make these rules that because God gives us our rights. We have God-given rights. And instead we create these rules that actually bind us instead. You know what I mean?
I just reread this. I just reread this.
From people that don't have power.
This is a huge deal to me now. Now that I reread this, I heard Greg say that. Because I don't know if you know this, but when it comes to qualified immunity, a federal agent can literally admit they broke the law and they planted evidence or did whatever. Can't do anything, nothing, even if they admit to the crime. The law actually says a new Indiana state law lets citizens shoot police officers. The state now allows people to use deadly force to keep public servants from illegally entering their homes or cars. Police are not happy. So if that is a public servant,
but they're not happy that they can't illegally do
that was already the law.
Illegally.
The Second Amendment is the Second Amendment, regardless of whether
that's what I said to my son, and he said absolutely not.
That's the whole thing, though. The law doesn't actually matter unless the media decides, oh my God, this is wrong, whatever else, and then they convince everybody, and somebody goes. It's a bizarre thing that justice is all a it doesn't exist. It's just
finance. And like everybody ends their advice by going do your own research.
Well, here's the
they
thing.
should have to talk about the law in terms of, by the way, any conclusions of law we make are actually just opinions that don't have any weight because judges decide that.
Well, and exactly. It's well, somebody decides it. Who the fuck even knows? But prime example is FTX and Sam. That this stuff happens. Everybody knows it's like, holy shit, they were stealing billions of where the billions of dollars come from, right? And it gets exposed. Thank you, CZ. And I think, the interesting thing to me is that he went on this tour, whereas like it's not easy to get on freaking Good Morning America.
Yeah, did a full book tour.
To get in various of these places, and it's a bizarre thing that this was going on.
Think about who his parents are.
I bet your lawyers don't like this. It's like, yeah, they don't like me doing this. And here's the weird thing: it became obvious that there was a lot of across the board, both normies and crypto people and important people, that this was wrong. And why is this guy not in jail already? If it were me, I'd be arrested if I had done that. Right.
Right.
Like, I had the wrong blood. I'm the wrong tribe. I'm the wrong family.
You hadn't completed enough
the
pipeline donations to the Democratic Party yet.
Yeah. And so
Democrat Party, sir. Democrat Party.
It is
not the Democratic Party.
It's like boom, boom. The theater enacts is like, oh shit, arrest him. Right. So the real question is he going to get Epsteined? Is he going to, die and fly off? Or does he really know something that they don't want anybody else to know? And, because whose money was that really? And where did it go? Because
I gave
likely it went to the party apparatus. Likely it's in Ukraine. Likely it's wherever the hell they wanted to launder.
Well, the SEC paid $21 million to a whistleblower, I heard, over this. It'd be interesting to find out if Caroline got that money.
Oh, my favorite news from the SEC is how many Twitter posts they've recently busted. Like, what the fuck are they doing with their time over there. They're enforcing against crypto projects, and the rest of the time they're like, well, nothing's happening on crypto Twitter that looks like a crime,
very
so
likely
I'm going to go ahead and
very likely that they're meeting with the next Sam, whoever the fuck that is. You know,
Yeah.
they're probably in freaking active meetings with them.
I think they're going. I think they're going after
trying to
Binance.
collude to stop dragging.
they're
They're social media. They're a social media
I
regulator.
think, like you said, Joe, they're
Something
pissed at
else.
CZ. They're pissed at Binance. They're pissed at this outside company that showed everyone their happy playground, and they're going after Binance. But like Dave said, I gave up on the system. It was like you said, Joe. You would have been arrested. All of us would have been arrested. When I saw a man say, "Yeah, I sexually assaulted the lady, but I didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah,
I just put my hand up her shirt and grabbed her boobie. I'm her boss, and I'm the governor. So, and then, but I'm sorry. And then when I saw everyone just talk about it, the entire sheriff's department with like 30 cops behind him, basically to show, oh, look at all the power we have. We're not going to use it. And they said, hey, arrest is not off the table. We're looking at everything, and the man went on TV and said, yeah, I did that. Assault and not a harassment.
And by the way,
well, hey, Sean,
outside the
you're
government,
talking about it.
Where is all the Me Too stuff? What happened to
Sean,
Me Too?
guys,
like,
here's
oh,
the thing
it
that
doesn't
drives
apply
me
to
nuts about this is like, how has nobody yet taken the lesson that centralized power causes all this bullshit to happen? Right? Like your boss being able to coerce you into putting up with that shit if you're a woman.
You know, I was happy to see some of that discussion come up. This was it yesterday, the congressional hearing. There was some of that discussion did come up, and I can't think of the names of people.
Warren Davidson, I think, brought it up.
But yeah, the idea that like the FTX collapse is an illustration of like why crypto needs to be heavily regulated and stuff.
Right.
And
we need more layers of oversight to stop the malfeasance.
This is just typical. This is classic fraud. This is classic, regular, normal, already laws for it fraud. And crypto's currency and decentralization, it was a failure of decentralization, and decentralization is what solves this kind of thing. There at least was a little bit of that in there.
Dave, you're absolutely right, but the fraud includes all the regulators too, because they're in the revolving door.
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's the old song and dance.
This is the law and con. They're writing legislation now, right? They're probably going to pass the fucking legislation that douchebag lobbied for, and claim that we need to do exactly his model, but dial up the red tape. That's the future of crypto. They're going to say, sign the Innovation Act, and we'll be all fine because we're going to have FTX's design, but with more red tape.
This person did this. We need new laws. It's like, no, you don't. You've got, it's like, oh, there's a mass shooter. We got to do something. No, he's a person that committed murder, and it's just the laws are there.
Do we need to start asking should there be a law? Should we get rid of a law? Should be a question we ask more these days, I feel like.
Well, yeah, we should add a law that reinforces that laws apply to every damn body. Every damn body. Everybody.
I used to have a joke that I'm going to run for Congress on the entire platform that I'm going to make crime illegal. And, we need a new law so the crime is illegal. And essentially everybody agrees.
Yeah, it's like a layer 2 to enforce layer 1.
I kind of want to do a congressional run where I sell an NFT project, and anybody who holds an NFT can vote in a poll that I will obey in every decision I make.
Speaking of NFT, off topic, a weird thing. I don't know what it is, but we have a family night every Wednesday. So
congressional.
We watch a movie, and I cook a big meal and all. Last night we're watching Clerks 3. Have anyone seen Clerks 3?
There's a third one.
3?
Oh.
Yeah, Clerks 3. It's actually pretty good. It's a real movie. It's not goofy. There's no donkey show.
Only because it's Kevin Smith. Why not immediately assume
it's a Kevin Smith Clerks 3? He didn't sell the IP.
Yes, no, it's his Casablanca.
Well, this is the current event right here. I didn't know about that.
That's high praise coming from you, man. This is actually, I don't think you would go out and stick your neck out for a movie like that.
We're watching the movie. And who's in the movie? I swear to God, Big Boy pops up.
What?
Yeah.
Clerks 3. And my kids, everyone's I was like, what? And they're like, don't you know that guy? Yeah, that's Ben.
He's got a part in there.
Didn't even talk yet because they're of course making a lot of crypto stuff and like NFTs, and it's like a joke. And you know the Lord of the Rings geek from Clerks 2?
I do.
Total crypto geek now, and
Perfect.
guy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
so,
great.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
This is kind of like the moment where maybe, you know, the moment has passed, of course, but where if any of you were early in on tech stuff, and when your high school buddies who were the jocks started to get on the internet, it's kind of like that.
Yes.
Right? Where you're like,
So
wait a
And they
minute.
use Saved
My-
by the Bell tropes to try to
Yeah.
get your help.
my husband's cousin just posted yesterday on Facebook. He goes, "Yeah, let's all crypto," and he's making fun of my husband and I because of this FTX thing. Like, you know, this is more than a month later. Now the normies are hearing about it,
Mhm.
and he's trying to make fun of us, thinking that we were involved in FTX or had, you know, were affected by it or something.
You know,
And this gets better. So he's commenting in the thing, and he's like, he's telling the rest of the family in the family chat how SBF is the guy who started crypto, and he was this huge
oh fuck.
mental,
Laying some knowledge
mental
on him.
giant. Yes.
Oh man.
And my
It's
husband's
the
like,
first unhinged conspiracy theory.
This is
This,
what normies
you know.
think, because they
Yes.
see the news and they see one or two things and like, oh, isn't crypto done this and that? So
yeah.
that's what
He's
they
like, oh,
want.
crypto's dead.
Oh my
SBF
god.
was the
If you're a
guy. He
normie,
was
why would
Satoshi.
you go in on this conspiracy theory?
They
Yeah.
want to just scare.
Oh.
Obviously, they want to scare everybody away from crypto.
Yeah.
Don't
Like,
think it's
you
a
waited until
lifeboat
the
out of
end
the
of all
system.
this
I
other
always
awesome
say that
conspiracy theory stuff.
2017 was our chance, and they crushed the market to try to scare everyone. Then we were out ahead of them, and then they said, no, you got to wait. We got to get all our systems in place. And like I always say, there's no getting around these KYC regulatory requirements. Like
Sure there is.
normies, no, there is. But when you're going from fiat, which all normies have, to get crypto, they're going to have to go through that. So the job of the crypto people, normies are never going to not do that. They're going to just take whatever is given to them. The job of crypto people is to build solutions that make that shit irrelevant, like make it like rules for a typewriter. This way it's obsolete. And then if you have privacy in the crypto system, we could still have our privacy. And the more people that see that, sooner, faster, better. Because right now, they're trying to get these people to run for the hills. So yeah, us talking on
frankly,
here, get it.
Well, I mean,
frankly, I will tell you though, the biggest
like,
issue,
we're good, but
the biggest
doesn't they
issue
have
that
like
they've been
families
able,
fight at holidays where like some of their family dislikes some of the other family?
oh,
Sorry, Joe. I
my
mean,
God, I
I
live
just
in
got to
the
get this one out here.
Northeast. Everyone hates
Nobody
each other usually.
experiences that, Greg. That's
Like
the
just
next-
Schadenfreude from half your family. Like everybody has that, I assume.
What were you saying, Joe?
well, no, it's just that they've been able to pin that down. And again, I
Those are the
say
people who
this,
buy
I
into
say
this
this,
one.
I say this. We need to start paying attention to the fucking utility, what this shit does,
Yes.
instead of the
Dude.
financials.
It'd be like
Because
hearing
they're
about
gonna say, oh, it's
Enron
a
and going
banking
like,
thing.
you know what's
It's
bullshit?
Why don't
Gas
we do
and
both
oil.
though? Why can't we do both?
The
This is
financials
my
can
argument,
come
right?
from that because that's what they will always make
here's
it
the thing,
about.
right? Let money move into this, so it makes the market caps bigger, makes the price a lot more stable, makes the utility of it a lot better. But then focus on the utility. That's always my beef. It's
Well,
not.
see, that's the thing.
That's one model,
Bitcoin
right?
came
Could be
out.
one or the
Bitcoin
other.
came out, and it was the ability to have a
What if we
cash that
were
I
like
could
gatekeepers
actually
about
work with you directly. Didn't have to worry about the bank. Didn't have to worry about where in the world you were. And it quickly went away from that. It's like, oh, it was solely about the number go up, solely about driving hype to buy it, to make the number go up, and getting the big guys, the fucking banks, involved in order to make the number go up.
I think that's the classic
all it
argument,
is.
though, Joe.
So, no, here's an idea.
It's the argument of utility versus the number go up, which honestly,
I don't think they have to be
I've
in
come around
disunity.
a lot more to y'all's side on that. But it's the compromise of we want it now. But honestly, like most things, if we did focus on the utility much, much more, the number go up thing would take care of itself in time.
It would be worth
because
Bitcoin,
it would be slower.
Bitcoin didn't have the fork and didn't have the controversy, which was, by the way, if you're an engineer, it was absurd what happened. If they did not deal with it the way they did, and if it wasn't directed entirely for the purposes that it was, and they focused on actually what was written in the white paper, oh, this is what it's for, it'd be worth over $1 million right now. They're fucking
guys,
fools to have
here's the
done
thing that
that.
bugs me about it is right now we talk about number. Anybody talking about number go up is already buying a loaded assumption into crypto. Like the use case, the killer app for this shit is supposed to kill the number you're trying to anchor this to.
Yes.
Right. Like there's no dollar anymore if this works. So why are we talking about that number going up? It's more likely a measure of inflation.
In US dollar. See, I think the dollar is
the thing. When Bitcoin goes to zero, it will be that's when it'll be worth the most.
People want more purchasing power, want their purchasing power to remain constant. So in order for utility, you need to have constant purchasing power or purchasing power that goes up. If purchasing
but that's at odds though with the government
down,
who wants declining purchasing power. So their fixed loan amount costs them less in interest, like that's the situation we're all in. They're printing money as a tax right now. And that tax is being applied to us through the Cantillon effect because the Fed's paying its bills and the U.S. government is paying its bills with the U.S. dollar as its fucking credit card. And we're all the ones picking up the interest payments.
Sure.
I remember when I was like,
it'll all come to an end soon, probably.
I was like 21, 22.
So why are we going to anchor that to number?
Rush Limbaugh.
We need to start thinking about a different number.
I was going to work. I was listening to my AM talk radio, and I was a good conservative financial advisor. And I was, a kid. And he said something that really hit me. He was like, how bad are things really? Because everyone was arguing about this massive, debt we had and how it's going to kill America and cripple us and, any day now. And he's like, what's the worst thing, man? We could print $3 trillion up. Yeah, the economy would be hurt for a while, but that's it. And we're debt free. What's the worst thing? And then it was like crazy. And then I thought I was like, 3 trillion. Imagine that. And that was the whole debt. And it was like this crazy thing. But I was like, yeah, we just print money and then pay the debt. This system is dumb.
And we think that we think that we can get our way out of this by investing so that we can take advantage of the Cantillon effect too. But we're paying fees to the people who are taking advantage of the Cantillon effect. Like it's like getting taxed coming and going. They are
it's all fake.
Setting us up to play a loser's game if we adopt the same metaphor.
It's all fake. The stock market, look how fake that is.
Yep.
Right. So why do we design exchanges like stock market brokers?
It closes during the day if it goes down too much.
Yep.
And then at the end of the day, it closes at 4:00 and it opens the next day at a different freaking price. Hello, and then
because they don't stop trading it on the fucking over the desk trade.
Yeah. It's all fixed. And if you're not a multimillionaire, you're not a part of any of the systems that you can ever get ahead either. We're just literally slaves. And by the way, there are two things because the risk if the Fed goes away, the risk if the Fed goes away is that the idiots that have done what they've already done with crypto already are just going to start weighing it measuring it against the yuan or some other.
We are slaves, Greg.
We're slaves on a
plantation.
Really interesting
We're the plantation.
No, we are slaves.
Hey, do you want to pick cotton
I'm no
or do you want to pick beans? You got a choice. You're not a slave.
As Bitcoin becomes more popular, people will start pricing things more against in Bitcoin. But the problem is they've done such a good job
in the United States.
They've done such a good job at killing the narrative. No one wants to price anything in Bitcoin right now. They're like, no, the dollar is what everybody knows. It's the world reserve currency. So obviously that's going to be people's measuring stick. Obviously,
is it still, or are we just assuming it is? Like half the world is now Russia and China and whoever they're selling their energy reserves to.
Chinese and Saudis are.
If you go to shop anywhere or buy anything, it's priced in dollars, so you can't expect people not to want to know the value.
Right, and if you cut a chicken's head off, it runs around for a while before it falls.
If I go to the grocery
store, there's people all around the world, and this still blows my mind. I have no idea, and I have much more of an idea than the average American. No idea how much a euro is worth. No idea how much a Canadian dollar is worth or an Australian dollar. Most people don't even know what the name of the Chinese currency is. People are that oblivious in the United States. They don't have to care.
They don't even understand that.
But everyone in those countries, they know how much a dollar is worth. So
yeah,
it's so
how,
odd.
they,
to me
know
that
how they
people-
think they know how much dollars worth though. They really don't though, because we haven't been true to the promise of keeping the supply in check, right?
Yeah, but
we
see,
are selling
don't
somebody
care.
a different thing
People
than
in the
they're
United
getting
States
by
have
the
no
time they have
clue
dollars in
because
hand.
we don't care about any other monetary valuation except for the dollar.
They don't
Well,
know
it
they
blows-
know the value of a Federal Reserve note. No,
Yeah,
they
it
don't
blows
know
my
the
mind, though,
value
that
of the
other
true
countries-
cents of a dollar because it's not.
even kids,
There's no more
they
dollar
know how much
anymore.
USD
In the
is. They think about
Constitution,
Wait.
there's a lot of grams of silver. You're right.
I thought the Federal Reserve
highest-
notes were just the exchange circulation. Circuit.
That's
right?
what people know, though. They pull cash out of their pocket that they assume is dollars.
Well, people are all Circuit B.
Says on their Federal Reserve note. So that's the value that they know. The dollar's been dead since 71.
Right,
at
but
least.
cash counts as an asset for the Fed. So
and people are starting
This
to
is the one
care about
exception.
it because the inflation is getting notably, it's noticeable, right?
People notice that. This is the one thing that I'll say, because I deal with normies all day long. It sickens me. I
love
absolutely-
normies.
But
They're just not there yet.
they understand that if I deal with a restaurant, hey, the price of chicken's doubled. The price of this is way up.
Triple.
I needed to get this fixed. It costs way more. They're raising their prices left and right. They're like, hey, add in the credit card fee on the slip so it passes it through to the customer. We can't deal with this anymore. The prices are rapidly rising. Consumers are realizing, hey, Christmas is costing me more. My gas costs me more. All this stuff's costing me more, right? So this is the one thing that people are starting to notice. So thank God for that, because there's starting to be
I've noticed
in the armor
because like
for
it
them.
doesn't make any sense.
I've noticed with that it's so much easier.
Milk
to
is
talk
just
to
as
normies
valuable to me as it was
because
last
they
week.
can understand
Why
now.
does it cost me
And
more?
it's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier to explain stuff. It's easier. They're much more receptive because of it.
And it's a kickoff point too. It's a
It
place.
is
Like
a big kickoff
they
point.
bring
And
that
then
up.
when you
You
tell
go right
people,
into why.
So full disclosure, I don't actually like milk.
I've
I
said
just like
this
to use it
for
as an example.
since I was a kid. That inflation is not real. It's not a real thing. That your money is not going. Your money's going down.
Inflation is a measure of cognitive dissonance.
Now
That's
it's
all
real.
it is.
So
all it is a
but
measure
to
of
people, when
cognitive
you tell
dissonance
them that, they're
between
like,
a
"That's
unit
dumb."
and purchasing
And
power.
I'm like, look,
actually.
man, it
Right?
still costs the same. It's not like bread takes twice as much wheat or twice as much flour to make. Everything is the same, and then it was always hard to explain, but I could explain it this way. If you had an ounce of gold, 10 years ago, you could still buy relatively the same amount. Or I would say, hey, man, just think of it this way. If you have an ounce of silver and you can buy a 10-pound roast, and then, or you have, $20 and you buy a 10-pound roast, and then a year later, it costs you $40 to buy a 10-pound roast or an ounce of silver still. So did the price of the meat go up or did your dollars go down? And that is when it clicks. People are like, oh.
Yeah. And
inflation is not real. It is the value of the dollar going down.
Often a misinterpretation of the inflation of the currency itself. There's more of them out there, so they're worth less, versus an inflation of the prices, right? Which they're and I'm not an economist, but there is a reason for that difference. And the measure of inflation is cooked repeatedly, that the government always changes
It's not
how
true.
they measure it.
You got to look at like the Chapwood Index or whatever.
Yeah, they'll drop certain things out of it in order to make it make it not seem as bad as it really is. Our inflation is a lot higher than the measure shows.
Well, yeah, I mean that's true, but inflation is really kind of a misnomer, right? Like inflation is a euphemism for the first and second order effects of money printing. It's debasement.
Well, no, that's inflation of prices, but I'm talking inflation. The currency is inflated literally. It's not a euphemism.
Right, but price inflation is not a thing. I don't think they're independent.
Right.
Okay. It is a good way to approach normies though, because you got to meet normies where they're ready
but
to
like
be met.
we're going to lose the argument if we have to start with Keynesian assumptions.
You can't take someone that can't swim and say, meet me 500 yards in the ocean. They're going to be like, I'll die before I get there.
Right, which is why we need to start shifting the conversation.
You need to start at shore and say,
this
okay,
one has state-friendly assumptions pre-baked in. That's all I'm trying to say.
I have noticed with this, with the FTX thing and with Congress and all that's going on, and this happened in 2018. It started to a degree. You saw lines being drawn, and then like that reptile came out of its hole, Brad Sherman, this week, and he poked his head out again. And back then,
Hate that
he
guy.
came out and said, I did like a whole
studio.
I did like a whole big expose on him back in the day, where he came out. He's like, this crypto is terrible.
Yeah.
Remember, he said it was so bad. The word, like, I don't understand how he could sit there and be like, I know that I'm in Congress. This is being recorded, and I'm saying these words. He was literally talking about like citizens as a different class, and he said that we need bigger bills because $100 bill isn't good enough for us. You know, now even common people, he literally said this, even regular people have $100 bills. You know, before it was only, you know, us and drug dealers or that. He said that.
Does he think of us all like the people think about the folks who existed in the fictional universe of 1 Million Ways to Die in the West? Because there's a scene where like, take your hat off, son. It's a dollar bill.
These words, and then he started talking about crypto.
That's messed up.
And crypto and and he was talking about the other way. You know, now we're wanting to know about all transactions for $600. He said it's $10,000. $10,000 is nothing. Commoners have $10,000 and move $10,000. Needs to be raised. But you go and look up where his money comes from. 90% of his money comes from foreign banks, Swiss and a Chinese bank in the United States, and credit card processing companies. I mean, literally, it's so blatant. And he came out and was like, "Oh, this is terrible. Crypto is bad." And then there was one or two senators are like, "No, it's not." And Lisa was talking about this on the show the other day, that they were like, "Oh, crypto bad, FTX, crypto." And there was someone who came out. He's like, "No, crypto and blockchain is literally what helped expose everything." And so the argument, there are people there that know what they're talking about. And I think that there hasn't been a big focus on education.
Fraud's only rising in the legacy systems. A crypto system is the only way forward. I mean, I just saw yesterday, working in the credit card payment space, a sophisticated gift card scam through Visa gift cards that are and I thought about it, super easy to pull off. Like, and it's just like, there's no stopping this from occurring, because every time you use your credit card, you're giving them a copy of it. You might say, "No, I tapped it on the machine. I have my wallet wrapped in tin foil or lead or whatever the fuck they're using to conceal shit." No, because
and you're not even manipulating legal tender.
In there, the merchant can call the processor and say, "Hey, I need that card number. I got to give them a refund or something," or whatever freaking reason that they give us. Sure, no problem. Get you that card number. It's an honor system, right? There's no stopping it. So
irony.
They can't admit this because there's just too much fraud. They don't even want to let people on to all the fraud. There was that problem of that
fractionalized reserve fraud at this point.
You guys ever hear of synthetic identity theft?
No.
Yes, this is ridiculous.
And the amount of money being stolen every day from this was staggering. This actually led me to realize about Bitcoin and crypto in the first place, because people were submitting applications left and right for these merchant processing accounts, stealing people's identity, making a fake website, setting up a fake bank account. They could steal 20 to 30,000 off every account they got approved. And they would apply to so many companies. They would have to hit and run, but they have so many of these identities, websites, bank accounts set up.
Right.
They could literally steal so much money. And I said to myself, and the worst thing was the processors and the banks and all that behind the scenes, they didn't care. They were like, "Oh, don't talk about it. Don't worry about it. This and that." And it's like,
well, they've never met the people whose office actually handles the technology.
I was like, how is this? People were still getting paid commissions on these accounts.
Yeah, that's something. That's something that I
how is
like.
The system last?
I first got wind of something like that being so overtly hushed back a long time ago when Mythbusters did an episode on credit cards and security around cards and stuff. And they were filming. They were going through. There's one interview where Adam Savage talks about it. But otherwise, their lawyers was like, "You don't talk about it. You don't do this episode." They shut down the episode on Visa, MasterCard, cards, fraud, how this stuff's done, how easy it is to do what you're talking about. and they got shut down. They were like, "You're not making the show,
funny,
and
That
you're not
guy's
talking
told
about
me
it."
at a
Yeah,
conference, Lisa,
They
you
got
know this
Stephen
story.
Corbited, basically.
This
right.
is not to be talked about because if the public realizes how bad it really is, they're going to freak, and there might be a mass exodus from the system.
Yeah.
They literally that's why I always joke around. I don't, somebody said, Johnny, are you going to go to Money 2020? I said, I have a feeling I'll be thrown off a building if I'm at Money 2020.
They're having a conference for money now.
We'll get so right after this. We'll get to the questions, but and the tech is already there. They could use public and private freaking. There's a chip on the damn card. You don't need the damn number. A freaking
We're gonna break the
16-digit
simulation,
number.
guys. We've reached peak irony.
Anyway, whatever.
They can't fix it because that's what people don't. We need to focus on, like you guys said, the utility. The price does need to maintain constant purchasing power or go up, because if not, people are going to lose faith in the system. But we need to Bitcoin and blockchain. It's an actual freaking invention. It's a way to send value from point A to point B without A knowing B, and you're not sending a copy. Even with bills. I mean, would you want to collect $20,000 from somebody and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to give you all hundreds I'll never see you again? Like, what if they're using fake notes? I mean, they have notes that are so good no one can detect them. What about a check? That doesn't work. Even these services, that's why I don't sell these services. There's supposed to be these check guarantee services. But then if you look in the fine print, it's like, oh no, it doesn't guarantee it. People can still cancel it, and that. So I'm like, what's the point of that versus just
you guys want to know the only
check?
way to get a check that is totally promised to be enforced? You have to go to the counter and ask them to issue you one. It's called
cashier's check. Yeah.
It's called a drawer's
Even that's
check.
an issue.
You have one, the bank
That's an
verifies
issue
it
a lot
up
of
front,
times.
so people can treat it like cash.
Yeah. And Clint Westwood always tells, he does the show with Lisa too, always tells a story about, say you sell somebody a car on a Saturday afternoon, you want to get paid. How do you take that payment? Banks are closed. They don't have the cash. Are you going to trust them to give you a check? The only way to take it in good faith is take it through a crypto network that you trust. And that's why I'm so into Litecoin. It's never failed. Litecoin networks never failed. So people would call me up working in credit card payments. They tell me about a shady situation and be like, well, Johnny, how can I process the payment? And I be and guarantee I get the money. I said, I don't guarantee anybody gets the money. This whole system is fraudulent.
Right.
The only way I guarantee you get the money.
We have a fundamental disagreement over the definition of money before we can move forward here, right?
Yeah. Okay. Did we already refresh the page so to get the right ranking on the questions? I think yes, right.
That was a fun current event.
Well, that's an interesting thing. I want to. Okay. You know what? I'm going to do this. Our new rule, because it has to do with this. When you're talking about crypto and taking a big payment, if you're coming at it from a retail point of view, you have to. You do need to have some kind of KYC or if you want to get refunded. If you sell me a lemon or something that doesn't work, and I want to bring that back to you, how do I get my refund? How from my not from that I'm giving you money.
Well, I mean you're asking questions about
the merchant has to agree to the refund
Uniform Commercial
now.
Code at that point, right?
Yeah, you just show them your QR code, or they send it back to the original address, and they send the value back. But the key is the merchant or the business has to agree to it. The customer can't just say I want my money back, and maybe they don't deserve the money back.
Right?
Maybe
because we have the Uniform Commercial Code, and most states have adopted some version of it. So there's some assumptions that by selling anything, they have to take on that they can't waive. So at the very least, there's like implied warranty of merchantability and fitness for purpose, and that you weren't false advertising. Like there's stuff sort of built into a default contract if you don't make one.
It's the same idea as cash. How do you get a cash refund? You have to go to that business and say, hey, I want my money back.
Right.
You have to come to some type of agreement with them. Same thing as
right.
We need to look
it's much like privacy policies.
Currency.
Like,
if we look at it as currency,
it
it ties in with the privacy features because, again, normies, most people, unless you're in crypto already, you can't get around KYC. If you do it for too long, if they want to make an example out of you, they'll arrest you.
Yep.
But
get a VPN,
once you're
type it
in
through
the
Mexico
system, if we have privacy, then they lose track of you. and then we can transact in peace and we still have our cash-like experience. So in other words, like, yeah, I'll be like, yeah, fuck you. I'm buying crypto. Your system sucks so bad. I want them to see my KYC. I'm like, look, not that, I've been broke lately, not that I can afford crypto right now, but when I can, I'm like, yeah, fuck you. I'm buying Bitcoin or Litecoin of my money. I want to opt out of your shit system into this. Come up with a better system and maybe I'll stay in. If not,
yeah, when the Canadian truckers thing was going on, I gave money to it, and you could do it. I gave crypto. You could do it anonymously. I was like, no, I want everything.
I may or may not have asked Tornado Cash to donate for me.
Yeah, like that's the thing too. I mean, if you do for whatever reason need to go back into the system, if you did buy it with the KYC, then I guess in theory you have legal title to it, and they can't say like from a court standpoint or something of that.
You could still have it if you have the crypto, because if you can prove that,
right? I mean, like you can
crypto,
you
can
can, but in the legacy system.
Now, would you is the question? Would you go make a court filing
in the legacy system? In the crypto world, we know, hey, you can pay for stuff, this and that, as long as you can send the payment.
That's what I'm saying. You can tie the legacy system to the crypto, because I could go to a notary and sign a message cryptographically and have a notary sign it that it is me.
You could, but do they want to? That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
do they want to?
But
that's where it comes into building that parallel.
That's where we need to get people to say, "Who cares?"
Better than their system. That way, you don't have to go back into their.
Oh, I know. I agree. Right. We need
by the way, localcryptos.com is a great way to explore if you guys don't want to do KYC.
Piggyback on that.
There are not giving financial
those are
advice
risky,
or
anything. Though. Again, in my area, the 3-letter agencies.
They're at risk, right? They're at risk. Use a VPN. Don't tell anybody that you're doing it. Try to spend money that you haven't moved in a while when you get it.
And don't fucking talk to the person when you get there, except for what you need to say.
And never acknowledge you bought it.
Yeah, but you can't really control it when they say, "Hey, I'm going to buy drugs with this," and if you continue, you have to say, "Nope, I'm not selling."
Unless it's a private coin, you don't know where they got it from. They could be selling you darknet coins. So I'd much rather personally buy my coins on an exchange, move them out immediately, and just be like, as I'm sailing away like this,
Right.
But that's part of the point. What Johnny just said
is for a spell.
If I can,
right? We got to eventually.
And then move it through Mimblewimble or something like that. That's private. And then be like, now you can't even see me on the blockchain because I don't want you snooping around. And then every time I move a stinking coin, you know what I mean?
Right. It's kind of like we're riding with a contagious patient, though, to a certain degree. Like you get into a cab with somebody who is just like late stage initial strain of coronavirus, and they're coughing in your face, right?
Dave,
you want to get out of that cab probably sooner than later, just because nobody likes getting sick, regardless of how severe it actually ends up being. Right? Like,
I just wanted to.
We can't ride in the car with the fiat system for too much longer without us getting a little bit sick from it. And I think that's what
and that's what we're here to talk about, though. Is I just want to point out that cash is a very good privacy coin in itself that you can use. It's an option. Be safe about it.
Is it's government stuff. So.
Crypto is not here to let you break the law. We still have the law of the land to adhere to. Right. That's not the argument we're making.
Oh yeah. Right.
But there's a lot of what we've been talking about that privacy coins have a direct solution for, or an option. If not a solution, then at least an option. Right. I just wanted to interject and say, let's see what people on the topic that we're here to talk about today. Let's see what people have to say.
So first question,
and see if there are any questions about it that we can jump
first question,
off on.
Y'all weird thoughts on secret network and consensus key. Apparently, and I didn't know about this, there was a vulnerability tied to CPUs, Intel, where a master key could decrypt anything on the privacy network. And so
that happens something.
I have a direct thought on it. That's the technical side.
I would just want to say one thing about this. They need to get rid of that. They need to find a technical solution to that gets rid of it. It's dangerous.
Yep. So they that's basically what Greg said. Yeah. They have fixed it now, but at the time of the discovery, everything beyond that or before that point was able to be seen, right? Everything. It opened up everything before that.
Well,
point.
I mean,
and that's an example of something that is an unknown vulnerability that you wouldn't even think of.
But
because there's something on silicon somewhere in a certain algorithm just because of the way that it's literally encoded into transistors in the silicon, has some kind of vulnerability. And it might not be even in the algorithm mathematically. It might be that if you screw with these particular transistors in a certain way, that you induct a current onto some neighboring, because they're so small and somebody figures that shit out, and it's not supposed to happen, but then it does, and you get shit like
somebody
this.
or something, right? Like
or something, more likely something, yeah. And you know, this example, I think the secret network example is so educational, because it was, if you, and I haven't deep dived on it, but if you think about the fact that even the most, what is accepted as secure solutions could have an unknown vulnerability to it, which is why I tend to gravitate towards things that do one thing really well, or they do it in a simplified fashion, or they try to, like, if their thing is they want to be money, the project, the token, whatever, if they're just trying to be money, cool, just be money. Don't try to do smart contracts. Don't try to just be money. And if you're trying to be something different, be that thing and do it really freaking well instead of trying to be everything.
Dave, you're talking about an engineering principle.
I'm on a rant. I'm making up for, earlier.
I think we should hear what Joe has the technical contribution right now. I feel like it'll dovetail well, because to me, this is like the one key takeaway here is don't abandon your secret coin. Don't abandon your secret network. Work with them, iterate on it, and improve, because security is an engineering process.
There's a lot of people doing private communications right now. You've got secret. You've got my favorite, Session, which does it in a different way with a different network. You've got things like Briar, if you've heard of that, which I think is fucking brilliant, where you don't even need the internet. You just interface directly peer-to-peer with other people's phones, and the network effect of you going to work, you going to visit your friends group, you going to that party one day, you going to the concert, the show. In a small city, the messages kind of get around by themselves. Yeah, it takes a while, but you don't, like, there's different solutions to the problems depending on if you need low latency or not, depending on if you need high bandwidth or not. Like,
latency,
figure out what you need and drive into that niche and be really freaking good at it.
For the lay audience.
Agreed. Everything can't be everything, and that's the problem with crypto. It's like network does this, it does that, it does, it's like
the white paper reads amazingly.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Cool.
Can I pause you guys for a second and get Joe's definition of latency for the layperson? I just want to make sure we didn't lose anybody with latency.
How long it takes for a signal to get from one place to another.
Right. So if a developer is talking about lowering latency, they're talking about, from a consumer standpoint, increasing the speed of the product.
Yeah, or like, do you even need synchronous communications at all? Can you deal with asynchronous comms where it takes a couple of days between messages?
It's more of
Are you in a
thing,
like, this is I don't want to go off on a national security rant, but
yes, do it.
Because they're so used to now.
As a Navy veteran who dealt with like satellite comms and submarines that just pop up out of the ice every now and then and communicate and then go hide some more, and like, there's so many things that are being developed in blockchain and cryptocurrency that directly replace in a more secure manner what's being used today, that I know is being used today, shit that's from the 80s that is in use right now still, and it's better than that. And so, like, when I see the US pushing back against innovation and making sure that the US is not a leader in this crypto stuff, and to making sure it's not competing with like our banking friends, we're shooting ourselves in the fucking foot in a national security sense. And I don't think enough people that are lawmakers or in the military realize that. I don't think
are people hiding it, or is it just not discussed?
It's on purpose. When their children are working for companies in other countries and being paid by those companies, it is on purpose.
Yes, it's on purpose.
They destroy America on purpose.
Dual citizenship. They're being paid by powers that be, whoever it is. And I will say, I mean, the solution to this, and this is a direct example of the reason the Dragon Chain is designed the way it is, even though a lot of people say, it's not purely decentralized. It's like, that's not the fucking point. The point is for you to control your fucking data, right? Because the the fancier you might design a protocol, you have to be really careful because the structure matters. And in cryptography, to say the least, in cryptography, let alone tech itself, there are unknown unknowns. You could build a traditional system prior to the crypto world that had unintentional holes. It's like, oh shit, we didn't realize that. Of course, they're going to find the holes, right?
Ask any software developer about Heisenbugs
yeah.
if you want to find out about the disasters that can happen with unknown unknowns.
And
back to the question itself with what happened with secret.
Data, anywhere you need to hide data, or it is ideally not just encrypted and available to fucking everybody, because sooner or later that encryption will fail. It might be 5 months, it might be 5 years, it might be 50 years. That encryption will fail. And if it's important stuff, it could be health data, it could be financial data of your customers, it could be your own payments data, or a message that was supposed to be secret between business partners. Putting an encrypted value of that data on a chain that's available to anyone is fucking stupid. Okay, you should hold stuff like that separate. And literally put the proof on chain. Put the fact, okay, this is definitely me. You can prove to yourself that this is me that made this message that you now hold that nobody else holds, right?
Yeah.
And the what is decentralized is the proof data, right?
Well,
and
your only privacy too is in the ability to say not my keys, not my whatever, right?
Right.
It's true for your crypto wallet, but it's also true for your hard drive.
Yeah.
But
and here's the other thing.
Think about that. But
the standard literally
encryption is your only
be
privacy.
The standard should be, and Assange would tell you this as well. The standard should be that you should only trust as far as it matters to you. Like a single Bitcoin, or let's say a hundredth of a Bitcoin, is not going to matter to you in on your deathbed, right? But other things might. Well, yeah, depends on what they do with it. Other things might, in terms of if you were doing something with this technology that would die, that would kill something, that would be fatal, if a nation state held the actual ability, they have a back door.
Right.
Don't fucking do it. And that's the problem, because we don't even know with Bitcoin if a nation state doesn't hold a backdoor to that curve.
Have any concept of this one. That's why I really hate the Going Dark campaign that the FBI always drags out. We can't see without backdoors. We need compromised encryption.
Yes.
Bring back the Clipper chip.
You look at the freaking. You look as stupid as it is.
Madness.
The Apple thing with the terrorists in California, where the FBI wanted access to that, and Apple's like, nope, we're not going to give it. We're not going to give you the back door. It's like, and all the while they had the back door.
The Matrix.
They had it the whole time.
They had the back door the whole time. So somewhere, someone in the government said, okay, we'll give Apple this marketing heyday to say that they're not going to give us the keys.
Is that when they bought the 5 years for the end-to-end encryption of iCloud?
It's the same thing as anybody looks into. Look at the
Apple ID.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That's what they did.
There's a point worth making here, though, right? Like, I think there's something that people get confused on that's very easy to miss. Like, you remember that scene from The Matrix where Morpheus is like, "That is that air you're breathing now?"
Yeah.
Like, it's code.
You think that's money you're using?
Right. Or no, do you think that back door is somehow invisible to everybody who doesn't already have the key? Right. If you design a lock, there is no airspace between anybody on the internet and anyone who can get to that page. You can examine the lock if you're on the internet.
Right.
So if you can examine the lock, you can figure out how to break it.
Yes.
If there is no back door is the only way to prevent that.
100%. And like what Joe was saying, with things over time, encryption algorithms becoming obsolete, being compromised, if you program something into like the fabric, the structure of something that is a backdoor, you know what? Maybe today there's a possibility to separate good actors from bad actors from accessing, in theory, that backdoor. Right. But over time, that's not the case, right? Yeah. And you actually don't know how secure it is in the first place. You're assuming
security is really more about raising costs on your adversaries.
And if you want historical proof of that, just go back and start binge watching. Go to DEF CON's video archives of all the talks they do. And every year there's somebody talking about how X algorithm is less secure. This one's compromised. Yep. We found a flaw here. oh, they didn't want to publish it. Sometimes sometimes the speaker gets arrested as they walk off stage because they disclosed a vulnerability that wasn't supposed to be disclosed. The shit exists whether you like it or not.
System did not get removed in the next version of
And
the
that's why.
chip. They just changed it.
Even 256
probably still
the
there.
way that
You
nation
know, like-
states work too. I mean, I at W3C introduced the ability to apply a measured value to what you look at for security. And using Bitcoin in particular, we can use the energy spent and the reasonable estimate of the cost of that energy to decide whether this information is really what happened last year. You know, was this really what it was? And you can look and it's like, oh, it's this many $1 billion. That information, it's a tweet. No one would spend billions of dollars, let alone we can look at evidence on chain and see that there was.
And Bitcoin hasn't forked or been reorged since then.
Right.
You know,
and so we can assume that information is legit. That is with the known, unknown that if the government actually has a hole, they have the back door to it, they could change it, but there would still be the evidence of that fork. And the crazy thing is that people ignore that for one, and people aren't using it as they should yet. Number two, for these very real Orwellian situations that we're finding ourselves in repeatedly, and it's kind of a scary thing because we don't know who has those back doors yet. And anyway, so I don't know. It's cool. So anyway, vulnerability, a secret network, that's actually a great example for a lot of these people need to pay attention and, learn how to have better operational security, learn how to do whatever you need to do at whatever
Starting
level
with
you
the
need
assumption that you're never freed from being responsible for thinking about your own.
Right.
Yeah, right. And with what Greg just said there, like if you have the interest, I would recommend looking into what different solutions do to solve the same problem.
And be creative because it's like,
and if you're not the kind of
the
person who can get into this, maybe it's too early for you to buy secret.
Yeah, and by the way, half the time the best security is to just go air gap your freaking self, close all your damn windows, and write the thing down on paper. Right? I mean, that's
the thing they used to tell you not to do, to write it down. Yeah. Like that's kind of where we're at.
Irony there. And although if you want to get really fancy, you can write down a mnemonic phrase and then break up the order and then memorize the order that you broke them up in.
Yeah, if you want to get fancy.
Still, I don't know. But see, can you measure how what the level of security that gives you? Like I once had to talk down somebody on Telegram who had he gave me a portion of his secret key, but he was keeping the rest secret and was like, no, go back and reach in a new wallet.
Yeah, you've just reduced the security by that many words. Yeah.
Someone I know of paved their mnemonic into or engraved plates, metal plates with their mnemonic in fragments, and then poured cement in their basement and buried them in a particular order to remember which way they need to go.
There's some good stuff there.
I've got a point that
I don't know who that is, but because I wouldn't want to talk about their OPSEC, but
that'd be hard for his family member to recover if he had a lot of Bitcoin or whatever in that mnemonic.
Right. Well, in a safe deposit box is a number order and a coordinate grid.
Well, we already know
the dumbest thing to do. Put it in a safe deposit box.
Put nothing in a safe deposit box.
Yeah.
No, if you
was
put,
that thing in New York? Was it New York?
If you
I
put
think
things that they can't compromise you with in there, it is a form of security to store.
It was New York or California, and it was FBI, and they raided every single safe deposit box in a bank, and took a tremendous amount of loot. That wasn't a bank, though.
That was a safe deposit box company.
It was the FBI,
and they actually got nailed for that. The fruit of the poisonous tree is going to kill that case.
Yeah, but they stole from a lot of normal people that had
safe deposit boxes in banks, though. I mean, they could tell you have to get the jab, and you can't come into the bank.
On top of the fact, there have been numerous cases where people
I'm not saying you keep it there, but if your family needs a backup, it is one way you can mitigate
it's
the
bad.
risk.
There have even been cases where people have
if you use an obfuscation system like coordinates and an order of burial that you don't explain on the note that you have.
I want to point out something that's probably good for the next question.
It raises the cost on attackers.
Let's go to the next question.
I want to point out something real quick. There's we have right now we have hosts that prefer ring signatures, ZK zero knowledge proofs, and Mimblewimble. I adore all of those, but I think it's interesting that we have 3 different solutions to the same problem, kind of represented in the hosts, right? Litecoin has Mimblewimble implementation. Greg, you like Zcash a lot. I like Zcash plenty.
Although I'm a big fan of what Bolt's about to build too. They're going to build a privacy network.
I personally prefer Monero, which uses ring signatures. That's just me. Nothing against any other solution. But I think in the next question that maybe is relevant, we can talk about that, and then end-to-end encryption and stuff.
So it's kind of like what Roger Ver says: whatever works, man.
Yes, whatever works, and variety. Variety is important in these algorithms because we don't know which ones are going to fail, right? But until they're tested well. Okay, so Jacob Wayne, noob question, something I think about often. If your on-chain data, wallet, etc., is kept private by written code, how do you truly be able to confirm it's actually private, not still monitored by the creators, especially if it's nation state stuff? I think WhatsApp marketing itself has an encrypted messaging app, but we figured out that it wasn't truly encrypted. Did he ask? He's asking if that's still accurate. I can't remember about WhatsApp.
WhatsApp is now allegedly fully end-to-end again. Though
allegedly,
again,
but is it still
source,
private
so
code? Is it?
If they're not open source, you can't tell, man.
Now,
and even then, it's not 100%.
Can I have the judge click on the link in my reply, because this is important. It still blows my mind. In this industry, of all industries, this is my reply to Vitalik when he was applauding. And when EFF was involved in this thread, applauding Zoom for the same issue. They said, hey, it's all private. It's encrypted. And then if it was found out it wasn't, and in fact, they found out that Zoom was letting members of the Chinese Communist Party listen in on Hong Kong protesters' calls. And one of them broke into a call, and it was news, not covered by most of the Western press, but it's like, what? And they said, okay, but now it's encrypted. Now it's no longer like that. And I'm like, how the hell can you trust them after it's so ridiculous? And Vitalik was defending them.
Yeah,
it's saying,
they just proved that they can't be trusted, and now they're saying, just trust me, it's fine.
And I was saying, hey, well, okay, is it open source? If it's open source, sure, but if it's not open source, you can't fucking trust, especially them after having done that. And he was saying,
even then, you can never really be sure they're deploying the code that they're saying.
What did he say? What did he say? Because it was like, it blew my mind that he had said, yeah, here it is. Well, sorry, up above. Gosh. You don't really want to create they give an inch, you take a mile situation. Better to cheer the victory. Do some follow. You think the Chinese Communist Party still isn't plugged into Zoom? You're fucking crazy.
I don't know about Vitalik, but I feel like he's in a way too cloistered of a circle of friends. That's what I think. Yeah. That guy talks to people who clearly are feeding him ideology, and he's taking it as if it's their honest opinions.
Yeah.
So that's what I think that because Vitalik used to sound smart.
So it's the same thing. This is the beauty of open source.
Everything's compromised, and what do you guys think about in the future sending messages through these actual crypto networks? I mean,
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to look at all the solutions, right? Like one of the things that we've been thinking about lately is what about a marketplace for brokered connections, but the connections are made on a separate protocol like UDP.
What if that
and you don't expose that protocol to the marketplace?
Yep.
Like, what if messaging was the intention? I mean, there was a message in the first Bitcoin block released to the world. I think it's a chancellor on the bailouts. I mean,
which, I like the idea that you can write on the blocks. Yeah, I think that's cool.
Block graffiti.
Yeah, I mean, everybody should have a message that is probably designed to not sound like you, just for the sake of.
And that's where you really would need privacy, because if the only way to send a secure message is through a blockchain and you don't want it public, I mean, what if you know what I mean? I mean,
the only way to send a secure message
might not.
Isn't just through blockchains, though, right? We need to be clear on that. Encrypted systems that are publicly deployed, that have open source code, and a long track record of not being abused visibly in any way that breaks it. Right?
Also, speaking,
it's still a trust calculation you have to make.
If you
just don't need an authority figure to make it.
If you use Telegram and you make a phone call to someone, it's supposed to be fully encrypted, but you can double check that up in the right corner. There'll be 4 emojis, random goofy emojis, eggplant, a cat, or whatever. They are the same on both sides. That's how you know it's fully encrypted.
Right.
So if you do make a phone call, check that out and just verify that.
That doesn't matter if there's a hole. You can do that and you could verify it, but it might be meaningless if you can't actually inspect the code.
It's not meaningless. It drives the cost up on attackers, right?
But no, that's what I'm saying. If the attacker is the actual person who's giving you the freaking app,
right?
That's who they have the back door. You don't have any way to actually know, let alone even if it's an algorithmic thing.
Right. So you should only send additionally encrypted things through it if you really want to be private.
Yeah.
Is sort of
you can do that. We had a concept. Speaking of like military service and stuff, there's like a basic concept of encryption called transec and comsec, and transec being the actual pipe, the encryption line that you're sending messages across. That's one technique where you can encrypt that, and then everything in it's encrypted, right? That's done a lot. And then comsec was the actual messages themselves are encrypted, so they could go through an unencrypted pipe and still be encrypted. And what we did is we did both. We would encrypt the pipe, and then we would also encrypt the messages with a different encryption and send that through. So we had transec and comsec.
Different keys, and ideally, even if it's a rotating key and even a rotating algorithm is even better.
Which is what we did. Yeah. We rotated. Some of them we rotated daily. Some of them we rotated weekly. That kind of thing.
I just want to share a schedule for people watching.
Yeah.
If you want additional encryption, there's a really awesome tool at onetimesecret.com. I'm not affiliated with them, but
like it's
a pretty cool way to add an extra layer of security to your communications. If you want to get the best out of it, come up with your password that you're going to use for the one-time secret that you're going to share only with the person that you want to have it, and send that through a different channel than what you send the link through.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you'll be good. So that's like a really strong
similar
way to
concept,
add privacy to any channel you don't entirely trust.
That's cool. Yeah. I've got that up now. I haven't seen that before. So it's like an easy to use one-time pad for single-use pad for anybody, and it's free. Awesome.
Yeah. You mean we can't trust PayPal and Palantir, who has a backdoor integration to PayPal?
Which ETH-based wallet should we use? That's a good question.
Encrypt is really awesome.
Isn't it shady with Ethereum that everything had to be done on one wallet?
ENKRYPT. It's by the Mu team. You guys want to use
Great point, Johnny.
And that always was a red flag to me.
And isn't it shady that Ethereum's always stuck in the conversation with
and again too,
regulators?
As far as I'm concerned,
we should go to the next question. You guys are going to get
it's a chaotic self-assembling network. You can't use associational strategies to tear down the credibility of the thing after it's been assembled stochastically, right? Like, let's be fair. That's an ad hominem attack that isn't justified on ETH.
I don't think Mu's talked about as much as their encrypt now as it should be. I mean, it's literally like the OG that survived, from the last.
There are tons of great other wallet projects.
They've been around for a while. I've had generally good experience with them. I haven't used it a ton, but I have some, and it's been fine. Yeah, it's an option. And that's why it's good to have variety, because you don't want just one option, as we've seen with what we were talking about earlier. If MetaMask is affiliated with if they're centralizing, if they're affiliated with the wrong people,
I'm gonna
need options at the very least.
I would just be leery of Ethereum, even though they rolled back the blockchain. People forget about that. I would be. It's definitely not sound money.
That was definitely a black mark, because it was not needed. In fact, I think it would have been a beautiful example for the world for the law is the code.
Yeah.
But somebody influenced Vitalik enough to say, "Oh, you know what? We need to roll it back. That's just too much money."
What about now with this?
Whatever your feelings about it, though, it is the like premier place for builders, right? Like people.
I don't give a shit about
can build very easily.
I say premier place. For
open source building there is easy.
What about ETH 2.0? Now they said, now the unlock time is.
They made it relatively transparent for developers building on it.
And that
what real has been built on it, though?
They might never let people get their money
out. Real
out.
has been built on it? Oh my god.
Real. No, I'm talking about what real has been built.
But Dragon Chain is partially based on
it. Dragon Chain uses it.
Right, exactly. For what? What does Dragon Chain use it for?
Well, its proof is not as good as Bitcoin's.
Right, but it's additional proof. Why is that? It's a cryptographically secured, largely decentralized thing that hasn't fallen over yet.
Okay. Well, but
it's the second longest running of the projects that still works, like Bitcoin, like Litecoin.
Litecoin, but it's not the second largest. Litecoin preceded it. Namecoin
Right,
doesn't run anymore.
Sorry, that was probably I don't think about Litecoin enough, and I'm sorry for that.
That's okay.
My Litecoin friends, I actually,
no, but either way,
I'm totally a polychain maximalist.
Either way,
but I don't think it's.
I'm not saying it's evil.
I don't want there to be a war between ETH and everybody else because
no, it's not.
ETH got favorable treatment for some maybe.
Frankly, though, a lot of Ethereum
still
people
works.
are how should I say, a war against any competitor. But
it's certainly superior to like Binance in terms of
there's and I don't know where it's at right now, multi-billion-dollar lawsuit because some of the IP from MetaMask went from Consensus to JP Morgan Chase, right?
Yeah, but Consensus doesn't own all of ETH, right?
I feel
ultimately
like Ethereum
people implementing, like we operate a fork of Gas for Christ's sakes. When you're using
we're talking about MetaMask.
Don't focus on money.
If you want to use Gas
on all this stuff
that isn't owned by
what are all the
Ethereum
shitcoins
Foundation
built on? Ethereum.
No, actually, most of the shitcoins are built on all of the networks that allow people to build in smart contracts.
Ethereum had so much garbage though built on. I feel like it was
because they were the first thing people were building on.
I know. I feel like it's a distraction though, because then it takes people away from, like we said, Bitcoin.
Is it, or did we fuck up in 2018? And
are we blaming the tool instead of the people?
Here's the main point, though, Greg. I'm not
fantastic question, Lisa.
It's value right now. I'm arguing against the fact that they did that fork in the first place. It's a black
right, but I'm worried more for the people who are listening for information about chains. And I don't want them to get the wrong impressions about sort of if you go down the list of things that you can probably use in crypto without getting completely fucked over if you got a head on your shoulders. You know, ETH is on the top 5 of that list, and it's a short list.
If you want to talk
about
a lot of
stuff you can get easily fucked over.
Don't stake it. If you just use it to send value, yeah, you're right.
If you want to talk about real shitcoins, I think projects that came out over the past few years that were just crap, and I think Pivx, which is started as a privacy coin, I think that chain is worse than ETH. I think like probably 90% of all projects that were built on Pivx the past 3-4 years, they're just literal scam.
But all of the garbage that's out there is also a sign that something is particularly open to builders.
I was going to say that
very
too,
cheap to start something up.
If it's easy to build on and it's
valuable.
easy to create, then that's kind of
that's kind of what Lisa was saying. Like we should probably shouldn't blame the tool for
if we don't talk about it at the same time as we talk about this, I guess.
No, I was talking about MetaMask and the
MetaMask can fuck off. They're assholes, but I just wanted to make sure that we didn't.
I just think it was a mistake. They should have never forked. They should have said, nope, we're going right ahead with
it. We need to hit that next question.
I'll acknowledge at least if you send a transaction on the Ethereum network, it will most likely it'll work, right? But don't make the mistake of staking your coins. You don't know when you're going to get them back. There's a lot of risk involved. So yes, it might work, but there's a lot of stuff to watch out for too. That's the only disclaimer I'm throwing out there.
Yeah, that's for all of them though.
All right, that's all of it.
Yeah,
true.
So
Litecoin, for Bitcoin, you can't lock up your coins if you send it on the network. You send value.
You could time lock in a transaction.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're in Ethereum, it's a lot easier to stake and this looks good. I'm getting this interest.
Well, again, that's a structural.
I need my money back.
Question.
Like, sorry,
most of the DeFi BS has been, in my opinion, badly designed, both for normies access and because of literal control. It's like if you're gonna make someone lock their coins into a wallet instead of making a structural system like what we do, you hold your own damn coins and you can still stake them. That's what we do, and we do a time-based thing. And if at any time you want, they're your coins. It doesn't matter, but you lose whatever power you have on that network.
Right. Technically, you've got a promise from the good folks over here that they're not going to screw you out of your tokens.
No, there's self-custody staking. There's non-custodial staking.
So the staking on the farming stuff is still segregated by a key that technically an individual would have to have the only
Well, with the
Only
further
he could.
risk if there's no hole in the contract, which
Right.
like say with the Dow, the reason
Right.
that it the Vitalik forked Ethereum in the beginning is because somebody of his lost enough money and probably cried to him over his beer or something. That's
Right.
what the fuck happened.
Bingo.
Well,
That's
well,
why-
they
and
did come up with an
philosophically-
entirely different implementation for managing state. Right, like the state tree is way different from UTXO, and that's kind of a neat.
Yeah, it's different,
technological
and people
advancement.
should solve things in different ways so that we
Merkle
can
trees
try
are
them
cool.
all out.
Oh yeah.
If anything else, they're cool. They're
Okay,
interesting. Too.
last question, Juicy J. What are the tax and legal implications of privacy coins? I mean, they're the same as they would be with any other asset. That you
like
could either
cash.
break the law, or you cannot break the law. But the point of privacy coins is to avoid. It might be me communicating business information to a trusted partner. I want to use some privacy system to do that rather than using Google because
or retroactive lawmaking
tapped.
that isn't really a law, right? Like what they subjected the truckers to.
Yeah.
So you can use cash. You can use things privately. You can do private transactions. You just have to not break the law. You just have to pay your taxes.
And the law depends on where you are.
Bingo.
Right?
You might want the privacy, but then at the same time, a lot of people want to pay the tax. They want to write the stuff off so they can pay less tax, and they want to be transparent. So,
and they want to be able to prove it.
Just because you want privacy, the public has to think about it. With a bank account, do you want to divulge the balance of your bank account at all times to your friends, public peers, and everywhere you walk around? People say, no, of course not. It sounds crazy. They safeguard their bank account balance. So crypto, you need the same thing. That's we got.
Except for against the legislature, but
I think
that
the privacy. I think like John did, that privacy coins are the most important crypto asset we have now. I think they're one of the most important things of money now.
Yeah.
And
ultimately,
Dave keeps saying this. He said it the whole show. Cash is good. Cash is good privacy. Cash literally is under attack. If CBDCs come out, we are looking at cash going away.
Dude, there's a shit going on.
Admitting that this was an experiment and that it is over now.
That's why Europeans have the negative interest rates, so that people won't hold their cash.
But if we lose cash, if we lose cash, there is no more, Grandpa hiding.
Cash is our friend. Cash is our friend. We got to get that word out there that we're not anti-cash. We want to enable the cash-like experience in this digital world that we're moving into.
What we're all anti is somebody in the middle that changes cash for products having to police you.
With that, guys, I got to roll because I had to roll at 12:30.
Bye, Johnny, for joining us.
The main driver.
Get in touch
Thanks,
with me.
Johnny.
We need
the
to
main
talk
declared
more.
driver
I'd love to talk to you more about some
the
of this.
main declared driver for the creation of Bitcoin was literally a cash that I don't have to be in person to use. That was the whole damn point of it. And the key that should have been used for the crypto community was the truckers in Canada. That if I wanted to give money to a trucker and actually let it get to them and their family, I would have to use crypto of some sort, because if I used the bank, freaking Trudeau or Castro or whatever his actual name is, would be able to essentially steal that money, right?
In addition to that, look at being able to donate to something and then not have your bank account shut off because you did, right? That kind of thing,
right?
Which is how you feed your kids, which is how you get by, this kind of thing.
Yep. So the media would have you think that using these privacy systems is illegal or questionable because they want to drive people.
As a business who has figured out something competitive and wants to go to market with it, why would I want a transparent open ledger where people can see exactly how much I'm paying for products, for components to my business model, when I'm interacting with contractors, when I'm interacting with suppliers? Why do I want my entire business model to be exposed?
Well, or think about when you're going to the doctor or things like that. There are things that's no one's business.
Great example. That's a fantastic example.
HIPAA,
And I'm somebody who believes that women should be able to have abortions if they want to, and that's my personal belief. And in that is this concept of being able to pay a doctor who, let's say the doctor's only an abortion doctor, and you want to be able to do that without being attacked by people who want to attack folks who are getting abortions, which is a very real thing. And so if you pay that doctor in something that is public, you're exposing yourself to an attack vector, right? And this isn't a political conversation, a debate about the right and wrongness of that.
Right.
It's just an example of like one of the cases where if you do a thing and people know that you did a thing, you can get attacked for it. And so maybe a privacy coin is a good solution for that.
It's definitely really totally a great solution to that, because as soon as they passed that opinion forth and the law changed in the United States, right? One thing that immediately happened was you could go on any of the dark markets and get RU486 delivered in 24 to 48 hours, right? They're going to sell the chemical abortion pill on the dark markets, and you're going to be able to pay for it in crypto.
And a different example that's kind of
privacy coins to make that loop close to secure that.
Kind of the same example, but buying like a firearm, for example, if you want to buy a gun from a gun shop, right? You don't necessarily want that to be public because there's left-wing lunatics who are going to go burn your house down because you bought a gun or some shit like that, right? You want that to be a private transaction, not because you're breaking the law, but because you want to stay safe. Well, that's all.
And let's be completely frank, right? Like some people are here because they want to civilly disobey because it's the only recourse they have left. You know, they want to make a point. You want to be a tax protester. You want to be a whatever else. That's not what we're here to facilitate. We know you're out there, and we know that you're going to use this to that end, and that's okay, because we are individually free, and that's what the people who build these systems believed at the outset.
Firearm things
we may not agree with what you do, and we may not agree with why, but you ought to be free to do them.
The firearm thing is very different, I think, than what you're talking about. When it comes to the firearms, I don't think anyone's scared of the left. I think that's actually kind of funny. Number one, because they're armed. So they're definitely not scared of crazy people coming over. What you're scared of is the laws themselves. It's 100% the government. Imagine this. Imagine if with the abortion thing, if now it's 100% illegal, it's not states' rights or Roe v. Wade. It's actually you get arrested for attempted murder or manslaughter or whatever, and make a new baby slaughter. That's what you get arrested for, right? But then this is where you have to think like a gun owner. They make that retroactive, so everyone that had an abortion now gets arrested. That's not a real fear. That's not a real thought. For guns, that's what you're thinking. You're thinking about 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now.
They know who's holding.
Them changing the law, and then they can come back and say, "Hey, we know that you did this, and that's illegal.
Right.
So we don't want. You can't have that now."
I wouldn't even separate it that far, man. I would say they're actually kind of the same, because you have this sort of like von Mises wrote that it is a given that any sect or any belief system or sect that takes power will legislate its doctrine, right? It's just gonna happen. It's sort of a human nature thing, even if we don't want it to, and we try to set up checks to prevent it. That's sort of what happens.
And I'll give one more example. It's an uncomfortable example for me even to give, but when we exited Afghanistan, there was a situation where anybody who had helped us for years, who had been translators for us, who had helped the U.S. With their mission in Afghanistan, was in a database. And anybody who had transacted with us, with the U.S., I say us as the United States, who had transacted with us in whatever form, whether that was helping like translations or whatever they were doing. On the way out of there, we handed over biometric identification for everybody who was on our side, right? And the excuse was, oh, we want to let the Taliban know who they should let through the gates because they're the ones providing security as we get out of here, right? So we're going to give them all of this. So we gave them devices and databases full of information on who was there that was helping us. So, hey, if they come to the gate, let them through. And what that was used for.
And as soon as that system got taken over, it was used to interdict.
And what that was used for once we left,
find them.
Everyone who didn't get out, they went door to door with the same damn data, the same information to find people who had helped out, who was
secret flag,
their enemy, right? Us. And that was a retroactive, it's a real world example of retroactively being punished for something that right now it's fine because the US is in control and they say you're good. where in the future maybe it's not good anymore, and that's not who's the boss, and that's not what the laws are.
Same thing happened.
And retroactively, you get punished for it or killed or whatever. So that's
same thing
a
happened
real
in
thing.
Burma. Same thing with Burma, where they, now they have a list. They know who did what.
Right. And so these are really the same kind of thing. We're talking about, cryptocurrency is, a lot of people think of it as a financial money thing. It doesn't always have to be that.
Yeah.
In fact, the most interesting cases are not that.
And
it's just, there's interactions between people.
There are also
the problem is that money monetary has been software for a long time.
Answers to
it's just a more sensible form of it.
There are also behavior monetary answers to typical IT security issues that can use crypto, even denial of service. There are very interesting measures that can be used with crypto that are not even necessary. Like, say, there's a solution to spam that is much more efficient than the AI that Google uses. It's relatively effective, but there are much better ways to do it with a economic.
Right. And there are ways to do it that don't like give you a single identity provider as a side effect.
Yeah. Okay. Let's close out. So we are
cool.
See, I'm past my bonus.
We should just answer the rest of the questions real quick then, right?
I think that's it.
That might have been it, bro.
That was it.
Was that it?
Yep.
I thought it was 38, not 35.
38.
I was hoping we get a chance to discuss the Colt token that's going to be a privacy coin soon, because they're starting up a
you can do that in the cause up. So network. Okay, so speaking of which, you can be so what's going on, Greg, this week? We'll just
oh shit, we're going to me. Okay. Okay, yeah, let's just keep talking about that. Colt is doing a ZK EVM implementation of a privacy chain that will be a layer 2 on Ethereum when it's done. For people who've watched that project, like I have, they can actually fucking build and deploy. So guessing they didn't make that promise before they knew they could get it done. I don't know very much about it beyond that. So obviously continue to do research, but that could be a pretty neat privacy coin coming forward, because I know those guys actually give a fuck about making sure the network protects its most vulnerable, so to speak.
Okay, cool. And let's do Sean. Sean, what's up?
Trump card.
No, just the usual stuff, man. Check me out. Check out me and Lisa's show. I'm working on trying to get some. I was not doing well last month. I thought I was going to die. I think I was going to make it Christmas.
Dude, don't.
Doing the show, my oxygen dropped like 78
today.
No, weeks ago.
I saw you go off camera for a minute. I was a little
couldn't do anything to get it up, so I was kind of worried, but I'm feeling better. So, I think I'll make it to Christmas.
Better.
Well, I'm gonna be working on my channel some more, trying to get some interviews with just, I think, interesting people that are interesting. Dave, I want to just say something. You were talking about Afghanistan, and you use words like that I do, and it pisses people off when you say "we." But you took ownership, and we have to do that. I think more. I think, and I've had some revelations this week about politics, and where the issues don't matter anymore because we've lost. We've become it's a party system, so we're just rooting for our team. The elections weren't about issues; they weren't about what anyone was running on. It was literally like, "Hey, we can get this number up over these guys, and we win." Oh, they're going to have 2 more people than us. Oh, they're going to have 1 more. Oh, it's all down to this race. To the country it's all down to this one race in Georgia, and this side's going to win or this side. What do they stand? No one talked about any issue.
The Maricopa County thing, though, is going to get blown open. Actually, the courts are hearing it.
I hope it does. The courts are hearing it. The system is so messed up. I don't know why people can't see that there are no more issues. It's just people rooting for their team, and that's why things don't work. That's why people get away with stuff, because you're protecting. Everyone is Michael Vick. Everyone is killing dogs for fun, and everyone's like, yeah, but he's good for the team. That's how it has become, and it's terrible. But people don't take ownership anymore. It's like it's always their fault. Well, they did something wrong and it's their. No, dude, it's your government.
Yeah.
You voted people in.
It's like that South Park
I don't know.
episode. You fucking broke the dam if you're not doing something about it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If you're not doing anything about it, you're not stopping it. So it's on you, you know. And something I've noticed also. There's people I think two of you mentioned it on the show, running for politics. I've in the past, 10, 20 years, with the advent of social media and influencers, there's a lot of bad things about it, but people have learned that the average person has power and influence over people, and their power is derived from their followers or their people. It's a very simple way to look at it, but a lot of influencers that I've noticed are like, I don't like how things are. And when you're a regular person and you see that you have influence, it changes the way you think about things. You're like, hey, I don't like this. I can run for whatever, and I can change things because I can change things here. This person I heard about had a terrible thing happen to him. I talked about it to my community, and now they have $150,000 in like 72 hours.
Right.
I did that. I made a difference. It's like, what if I went into politics? And that, I think, is scaring the crap out of people because they're not going to, indoctrination camps, universities.
This is why Constitution DAO scared the shit out of them.
So,
actually.
yeah, there's so many things that are happening.
Do you think it did to buying
Are
the
you kidding?
Constitution?
Yes, it was a political spending campaign.
It's bullshit.
To make a propaganda point.
The media,
like
it was an interesting concept. I'll give you that, but it was meaningless. It's like
it was
we're going to buy a copy of the Constitution. Yeah, I don't know. It was marketing for sure.
Right.
But why did somebody else buy them out then if it meant nothing?
Saylor, the guy who was behind
bragging rights,
basically Michael Saylor, right?
Yeah, and also market. I mean, it's like there's probably this means it's worth something. So yeah, what did it mean? What did it mean? It meant nothing.
Like, bragging rights are a big deal, dude. I didn't.
Yeah, no, bragging rights are fine, but for what you're talking about, Sean, if you want to blame me, if you want to blame me, or if you want to blame anyone listening,
that someone would pay
something
$700 for an Adidas T-shirt. I didn't know that was a real thing. I thought that would be a joke. That's a real thing, and people pay $700 for an Adidas T-shirt. $900.
If anybody wants a $700 Adidas T-shirt, I can get them quickly. You just have to pay me $700.
I got a Cricket for Christmas. I can make you one.
I'll go out and buy some Adidas shirts right away.
I'm going to say something real quick here. You look at how many new people in Congress are former CIA or former military intel, and you tell me that I could just go and run and I'll have some chance of fucking winning, right? It's like if Greg runs for Congress, there's no fucking way he's getting in. Why? They're going to funnel so much fucking money.
Well, no,
that
opens another can up because now, and Joe, I've been talking with you about this.
I would win.
Almost all this year about the Greater Idaho.
You should win. If the vote actually counted.
People are starting to hear about the Greater Idaho movement.
You can get it done inside of 2
years.
This
is coming out. People are starting to talk about secession in both forms. Were overt secession and internal secession, and they're starting to see how they can take power back with this action. Where you don't have to remove yourself from the United States in an overt secession. You can do an internal secession. Scotland is part of Great Britain, but it's its own country. It's its own,
So is London.
Yeah, well,
so is DC and the Vatican. I mean, it's like, yeah, there are reasons for it. How the fuck did they get there?
But with Idaho, or with Oregon, there are those counties that are going to secede from Oregon.
How long has that been talked about?
And they're going to become part of Idaho because they're like, we don't like what's going on, and that's the basics for the country, which is making people re-examine how things were supposed to be as a union.
But you're talking about a niche of a niche of a niche, the people that didn't get government education or went past and realized, oh, you know what? I'm going to educate myself. and that is such a small amount of the population.
I think this is the next. I think this is the next evolution in the
How do we
Trump
make that
phenomenon.
bigger? That's a good
I
question.
think that
Well, it's happening in Brazil.
I think the
I
fly
mean,
through
they
states
are
and
they
all
are
the rural
putting
areas and
Bolsonaro in
all the
power.
people who are
January
disenfranchised
1st
are now seeing
will
that
be
they have an
initiate-
additional voice, not in a political figure like with Trump, but themselves. They're saying, "Whoa,
Yeah, but I mean,
That's damn right.
this
I'm
one
not.
city,
I'm not going to
that's
go
damn
into
right.
the
this one
depths of
city
it.
in my state
I'm not going
has
to go
all
into
of
the
the voting
depths of
power
it.
and controls basically who gets elected. The entire state could vote for one
That
person.
influence,
But
though,
if this
Sean,
city,
is
if this
not
city votes the
organic.
other way, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how the entire state wants what the entire state wants. If the city wants this, then we all have to go along. I don't like that. We can
Just
leave.
need enough individuals to agree to go a certain way, and it happens
So
automatically.
I think we're in for a big upheaval very soon.
It's amazing it's still standing up, honestly. This is the longest running chicken with its head cut off I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, follow me on social medias and stuff. Anyway.
Okay.
Sorry.
And
Lisa,
you
do
can
we
watch.
answer yet?
You can watch more of that with Sean and I every Tuesday on we do half the show on my show, and then we jump over and do half the show on his show. And there's a lot of that, and we go back and forth and have playful banter and lively conversations. And and you can find me on the Mighty Lair at Den.Social. We should have done I watched Coffee with Den. Excellent job, Dave, by the way. Sorry I missed the last episode of the year, but they did their New Year's resolutions. So I'm going to give my New Year's resolution here to jump in there, and I'm going to do a better job at posting my Mighty Lair weekly Mighty Lair post. And I started that off this morning by sending in my lot minting to Dave. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I haven't checked my email this morning. I've been slow going, so I'll get that. That
Okay.
sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you guys can find me there.
Cool. Dave.
Yeah, shout out to Den.Social, of course. I just wanted to, I guess, say that you don't have to just do one thing and play just one game. You don't have to succeed to participate in a parallel economy. And if you want to know what that looks like, just maybe imagine a farmer who has a CSA that pays in a privacy coin, and they have arrangements with the fertilizer shop and the seed shop and all that also take the same currency, and they can just do their own thing, grow some food back and forth, develop your own little small version to prove a concept and scale up from there. Doesn't have to be all at once.
Dude.
Baby steps.
That's a
And
badass
if you need a
model.
place to organize that is not directed by advertisers and is not directed by whoever's in office, Den.Social is a good place for it. And you can just do your own thing and run it however you want. So
And if you're
feel
the sort
free
of
to
person who's
prototype.
like, I want to start a business, but I don't know what, just replay that clip and write down everything Dave just said and do that as a business. And you can
I think
start
it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So there you go. Den.Social, organize the revolution,
Very
make
good,
it
very
peaceful.
good. And I think so. For me, I think it's pretty clear that I'm the black pill is starting to get to me. I don't see much hope, and it's very hard to organize a lot of cats that are wanting liberty, and it's there are too many distractions, and the distractions are too easy. The whole number go up thing is so obvious and simple, and they've captured 99% of this entire technology into that world, and nobody's even caring about the
Right.
it's almost like I wish the money was taken out of it. I mean, Linux was more successful faster than crypto is, because in literal real your fucking TV has Linux running on it, your car has Linux in it.
Your Windows has Linux in it.
Yes. and I will say that Linux, without the money, which is a surprise to me, but without the money was more successful because it doesn't have those distractions. Is like, what am I going to use it for? It's like, okay, I'm going to fight against the old boss who doesn't want to do open source stuff. In the end, I went out because there's a legitimate purpose, and there's no distraction. There's no, it's like these hype people, or these people are doing illegal stuff or stealing money from people. I don't have any of that. I just have, it's better. It's better in Windows.
Right.
It's better
Well,
than Mac.
The only way you can screw it up is if you don't start open source. If you start open source, it's
even
easy
then,
to be open
it's
source.
a selective thing, and it's a case by case. But the point is, it doesn't have those distractions, and it doesn't have the further. I will tell you, I've been in plenty of very high tech startups, and as a contractor at the government, and Lockheed Martin and everything else, where everything was based upon best tech wins, and it wasn't always the case because there's tons of politics, right? And I've been threatened before with going out in the parking lot over engineering issues, literally, right? I've caused great guys, but I've caused the test lead to cry multiple times when then, right? And
dude, have you ever yelled you're just pissing in my face and calling it rain to an engineer?
Oh no, I always used
lungs
humor
in an office before.
humor was the way. But I had
I've never done that either,
experienced the bullshit, the intrigue, and the stabbings in the back that I have in this crypto world by people that very well should be on your side, that you would have trusted with a lot of stuff, and they come in and they fucking stab you in the back, and they do things that you're like, what the fuck is it? And usually it wasn't even where they gained monetarily, but the money drove it, because the money made it this pride thing that they could puff up their chest and say, and it's insane. And frankly, I think I would rather fucking walk away from this shit these days than keep going, because it doesn't fucking end. And to think that the vote is legit, it's not. It's obviously not. To think that any of the bullshit that we had to deal with in the past few years on the health side is legit, it's obviously not. Big pharma stuff. And it's just this. Anywhere you look at the freaking Sean. You talk about the influencers. We have fucking 7 people watching this right now, supposedly.
No,
right?
we have more than that.
There are more than that, but that's the thing. That's what's getting reported, right? And we know it's more on Twitter, and we know it's more elsewhere.
They're just trying to make sure we don't show up on the front page, right?
But they don't
want everybody to hear this.
When the algorithms control the actual significance of that influence, you're fucked anyway. It doesn't mean that anybody, because here's the thing:
it's not about silencing us. It's about silencing the people commenting.
I won't name names, but if you look at the people that pop up, Sam Bankman-Fried was one of them. Popped up out of fucking nowhere. It's like, oh, he's a genius. He did arbitrage. That turns out to all be bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. He was freaking made. Zuckerberg made. Freaking well, Gates made. None of these people were really what they were sold as. It's all theater. And anybody who's popping up as a new YouTube is like, they need a counter to Joe, right? As an interviewer of famous people. So who pops up? What's his name? Friedman, right? It's like that's all fake as bullshit, right? It's boring to watch him, and yet he's on there, and it's like they're making a character that they can now filter the message that they want to filter.
If you watch
to
a
us.
show and you never hear anything that makes you angrily disagree in your own mind before you wrestle yourself back and go, oh wait, I'm hearing another opinion, I should just listen. Anyway. We all have those moments where we're like, that's wrong, and then I go, oh wait. And it's also not my stream, it's everybody's.
And I'll say it's so, but my point is that the situation is near to hopeless, and probably our only advantage, which tends to be a freaking massive advantage, is this technology. And if we freaking ignore what we can actually do with this technology, then we're all going to be fucked. Anyway.
Greg, I think that's the main problem. People in general have been taught to forget civil discourse, to talk about something. It's literally a team. It's my team gets this, your team gets even no matter what it is, whatever the conversation is. That's what it is. My side,
and it's literally, and the meme is, if I pull this lever, the train car that's going to run over all these people turns from red to blue, right? It's meaningless. It's meaningless entirely, that team. And
if you're watching,
they use it to manipulate.
If you're watching a football game and it's your team, if the Eagles are playing, man, and there's a call, and it's a call for the Eagles, and it's like, that's a bad call. Well, you're not on the field, man. I mean, we're going to look at that again. If it's the other way around, you're going to be really pissed at that call. It's not fair. It's wrong. But if it's in your favor, it's like, oh, there's a flag. It's for us. We win. We get first down. Great. That's it. That's legitimate. It's good. That's what matters. And it's literally, we've reduced politics. We totally reduced to that. But literally, stuff with your family. I mean, the a vaccine, we reduced to being a side, like a game. It's insane. It is absolutely insane.
Yep.
You could say, here's proof this doesn't work. It does work.
But the cool thing
that's why
no.
I will accept no blame for the situation we are in, because I've been against all that shit for as long as I can be. And yes, I've made stupid decisions in the past, but I now know what they are. And it's like, you can't say, oh, it's us. It's like, no, it's still them. They're still the ones setting this shit up. So I'll do everything I can against it, but and everybody else needs to. That's as far as it goes. So anyway.
And guys, like, if you want to work on this
We
as
have
a
to
human being, lesswrong.com, look up what the sound oops means, and you'll start to get this, right? Like,
so
human beings screw up, and oops is the sound we make when we fix it. So just try to remember that when you're trying to solve a problem.
Share this episode. The more you share, the more the host top contributors will get. Thanks a bunch. Sorry we went so far over. Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So if we're all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.